Good Monday morning, everybody, and welcome back to Gearheaddaily. And those of you who have stuck with me through my microphone issues, I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. I am working on it as hard as possible. I have even re-recorded this video 4 or 5 times, and I recorded another video earlier that seemed to work just fine, but have some copyright issues, even though I'm just showing a trailer for a movie that is already publicly available that the companies want out there. Anyway, working on that issue as well, but I do appreciate you stopping by and sticking with me through the process. If there are other issues, please let me know. I'll do my best, and I will try and fix it as best I can. I've been looking through some settings and trying to set things a little bit better through the process. So again, thank you. And today I want to bring you an issue that is kind of an important one to me because I think it deals with constitutional issues. And when it comes to constitutional issues and cars, I think they intersect, and I'm going to try my best to stay away from the political issue because things can get very polarized very easily, and really what I'm focused on here is car-related things. I don't really want to get into politics. It's not really my thing. I'll let other people who are obviously smarter and better at it than I am talk about politics. However, I do believe this is a political issue. Now, before we get going too far, I do want to say that law enforcement, I think, is on the wrong side of this issue. However, I understand their position. Now, I have a lot of friends who are in law enforcement, and I support you. Trust me, I'm on your side the vast majority of the time. There are cases where, hey, stuff goes wrong, and I do respect the fact that you have a very difficult job, and I do not envy your position one bit. So for that situation, I understand you have a very difficult job, and there's no clear-cut, real, black and white issues when it comes to law enforcement, and I do respect the job that you do. It is very difficult, and let alone, catching criminals and that sort of thing, but, all the public service things that you guys do as well. I do respect the job, so that out of the way, I do think you are on the wrong side of this Waze issue, okay? So this is the issue that has come up. Police are demanding that Google removes speed trap and drunk driver checkpoint alerts, okay? If you're not familiar with Waze, Waze is an app that you can download to your phone, and it will allow you to share information about traffic and a number of other things, including security cameras, speed trap security cameras, and drunk driver checkpoints, okay? And this is what's having the law enforcement's, pants in a bunch because they feel that it is impeding their ability to catch drunk drivers. My response is, well, hide better or find out where the drunk drivers are different, in a different way. But, generally those checkpoints, I don't know what their success rate is. I can't imagine it's super great, but let's read on, okay? So, City of New York has asked Google to stop providing alerts to users when they are coming up to speed cameras and sobriety checkpoints. Now, here's my issue. Let's talk about just speed cameras just for a second. Sobriety, because I understand that's a hot topic in and of itself, DWIs. Let's talk about that in just a second. Speed cameras, I believe, me sharing information with another fellow person who is potentially in, that area is protected free speech, okay? It's a First Amendment issue. You can't go around yelling theater in a firehouse, right? So I understand the limitations of it, but this is not a limiting factor. What if I texted the person? What if I called them and said, by the way, they put up a new speed camera on Main Street, okay? How's that any different than using a Waze app, or using an app, for that matter, to let you know where there are potential issues with getting pulled over or a ticket, that sort of thing? Law enforcement, and they're going to issue you a ticket anyway. All those cameras are about, they're not about safety. They can spout all that crappy rhetoric they want, but it's not about safety. It's about revenue gaining fundraisers, and a lot of you like that word fundraiser. But yeah, cops like to set up a fundraiser wherever they can, and then the government will back them up on the situation. And I can prove to you that the government only gives 2 rips about money if and when you get a ticket. You've got a fairly clean record. This happened to me once. I had a very clean record, hadn't been pulled over for anything in close to 15 years. I did one of those California stops through a stop sign once in an area I'd been to a million times. Didn't think anything of it, and I happened to get a ticket. Didn't fight it, didn't argue with him. I said I thought I came to a complete stop. Apparently I was wrong. Fine, no big deal. and went about my day. And there's an administrative law person that you can go to speak with about your situation prior to going to the judge, and it's a lot cheaper and it's a lot more expedient. And basically the person just looked at me and says, okay, you got a clean record, did you do it? And I said, well, and they said, well, did you do it or didn't do it? And I said, I kind of potentially, I didn't want to admit anything, of course, because they're right in front of me. And I said, maybe it's possible. And she goes, fine, you got a clean record, pay us another $50 and we'll call it good. So $50 on top of the fine. So it ended up being like a $125 ticket. But it did not go on my record, and B, my insurance didn't see it. So again, what's it about? Is it about money? It's really about money. That's all they really care about. So if you can go in there and say, I'm willing to pay a little bit extra, they're more than happy to pull that down off your record. See? So as far as the Waze app is concerned, I don't see any difference between an app and me calling a friend or telling them about it, or in casual conversation, having coffee and say, hey, Bill, do you know, by the way, there's a new speed camera up on Main Street. Oh, okay, and that word will get around very quickly. Again, how is this any different than what's happening already? Okay, now the Waze app I have used once or twice, but to be fair, I don't live in an area where we have a lot of checkpoints or speed cameras, and I tend to drive pretty conservatively anyway. I park myself in the right lane. I do the speed limit, maybe 1 or 2 over, if there's a hill, maybe 5 over if it's just a long stretch of road, but I generally drive like a grandpa because A, it's a lot less stressful, and B, for the most part, you get there around the same time, and it doesn't really, hurt me either way to go the speed limit, and I'm pretty relaxed by the time I get there. A lot of people I know who drive really fast and are fairly aggressive drivers are tense and angry a lot. So it's just a lot easier on my end to not worry about it. You never have to worry about getting pulled over. You don't have to worry about tickets. And again, I generally get there around the same time had I gone a little bit faster. So for me, the Waze app doesn't really do much for me. I've used it, didn't find it very helpful, so I just decided to delete it, didn't end up using it. Now what the NYPD is saying is that they are putting Google, who owns Waze, on notice, quote, notice, whatever that means. I don't know what putting them on notice means. What it says to me is they have no power and they have no authority. So therefore they want to threaten or say, you can't do this, or, that sort of thing. And that's kind of what it's telling me. So it relies on users to share data back and forth. Again, what is the deal, the issue with me sharing information with somebody via app or via text or via phone call? Okay, you don't text and drive, obviously, but how's that any different? Still free speech. Okay, I'm allowed to say whatever I want, and I'm a big believer in the First Amendment in the respect that I can criticize pretty much anybody I can't make up things, obviously. But I can criticize the government, I can criticize my neighbor, I can criticize my friend, and it's not going to get me any criminal action. Okay, they may not like me for saying those sorts of things, but I do believe in something called the marketplace of ideas, which allows you to kind of say whatever you want, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, and let the market decide whether those ideas are good or bad, and therefore we should continue to talk about it or stop talking about it or maybe develop it in some other way. So the marketplace of ideas, I think, is a great thing. And but it does allow for things that are not very popular. Okay, a lot of things that people may make them very angry, and that, to me, in my opinion, is a good thing. We need to have more discussion about things that we may not necessarily like. So we have to put ourselves in a position to hear things, and I'm willing to hear things as well. So what you think about this video, please let me know in the comments. More than happy to hear other side of the opinion, but again, here's where I sit on things. And again, my opinion is not the be-all and end-all. Of course, there are other sides to this, and I'd like to hear what you have to say. So I generally do read the comments. I know they tell you not to, but I do anyway. So this now has a new feature that allows you to point out speed cameras and warn drivers when they're on approach. Okay, again, I'm totally fine with that. Go ahead. I say argue it in court. First reported by police, the app now permits those to find out where it'll give them an audio cue when they're close to speed cameras. It's not available for all regions. Okay. Now, again, it permits for the public to report DWI checkpoints throughout New York City. Okay. I like this language. Individuals who post the locations of DUI checkpoints may be engaging in criminal conduct. Such as what? What conduct would you say I am? What sort of law am I violating? Because the courts have already stated that flashing your headlights is constitutionally free speech. Okay? If you're not familiar, if you're on the road and you pass somebody, usually it's on highways and stuff like that. It's kind of trucker, long distance people's language to each other when you're driving. As you see a cop in front of you, you pass it, and then you start flashing your brights like a wild man to alert everybody that there is a speed trap coming up. And the cops went after this particular person, stating that they were hindering a police investigation or something to that effect. And they have come down. A federal trial judge said this is free speech. Whether you communicate it by yelling at them or communicate it by flashing your brights, it doesn't matter. You are legally allowed to alert people via however means necessary that there's a speed trap, and it's their choice to keep speeding or not. Again, it is not criminal conduct. Okay, so they've already ruled on that piece. So this other piece should be very interesting to see what happens. But they will pursue all legal remedies. So they're going to threaten you. They're going to say they're going to arrest you. They're going to do all these things because you tell somebody that there's a DWI checkpoint. By the way, DUI, DWI, virtually the same thing. In some states, you even have an OUI, operating under the influence, which means, snowmobile, bicycle, horse, rollerblades, it doesn't really matter. I think I can make a whole video just on DWI laws and how strict they are, because there seems to be a fair amount of people who don't understand how strict they are. Oh, Eric, I can just be in the back seat and sleep it off. No, you can't. No, you can't. Okay, and I understand that's a very, people get very heated about that topic. No, you can't. Okay, well, I'm going to throw the keys away and then I'm going to sleep in the bed of my truck. Again, I have seen people get DUIs for these sorts of things. So don't think that just because you don't have the keys does not mean they won't charge you with it. Okay? It's not about that. If you're drunk and near a car, as my law professor in school and at college told me, it's bad dog. We spent months talking about laws around DWIs and drunk driving offenses. And his thing was bad dog. Don't go near it. Don't even try it. And in my case, my wife and I have this agreement when we go out. One of us is allowed to have a drink or two, and the other one is going to drive, and the other one is going to be completely sober the whole rest of the night. And we talk about that beforehand, but that's my advice to you: don't drink at all. Don't even make it an issue. Don't even make the cops think that there might be something going on. Okay, because that .08 law is not a hard and fast rule. Okay. Just keep that in mind. That's not a hard and fast rule. If you were acting drunk but have like a .04, they can still charge you with a DUI because you were acting not appropriately. Okay, they are claiming it is irresponsible, as it may encourage reckless driving. It doesn't encourage reckless driving. Reckless driving is already happening. You just happen to not catch it. Okay. Now here's my question: what if I have a friend? And he's a designated driver, and he's got to get home, and he's completely sober. He's just by himself, and I happen to come up to where we're going, and we're going to the same place. And I say, look, there's a DUI checkpoint coming up. And I call him. And I say, DUI checkpoint. You might want to avoid it because it's really taking a long time to get through the line. Is that illegal? Because it doesn't really specify. Only saying through the app, it's illegal. You don't get to say through the app. All technology is doing is catching up to the times. So if I called a friend and said, by the way, you might want to avoid this area because it's going to take a long time, and I know you are a completely sober person who never had to drop a drink, never drank anything in your life, how's that illegal? How's it illegal for me to tell them that they should probably avoid that because it's going to cause them a hassle? And again, the speed camera issue, hey, hide better. Cops, again, I'm on your side, but hide better. You want to put speed cameras. It's not about public safety. You can say that all you want, but let's just be honest. It's about revenue. You want a fundraiser, and you don't want to pay a cop to do it. So you want to have the speed camera flash a picture. And to be honest with you, I don't think I remember reading a study a while back stating that those speed cameras and red light cameras actually induce more accidents than they prevent because people are so freaked out about them. As soon as the light turns yellow, people stop and they cause a pileup. So it's not about public safety. You can claim it is, but it's not. Okay, so you're going to pursue all legal remedies. Okay, which tells me you don't have one. You're looking into it. Okay, and Google said that safety was a top priority. Informing drivers about upcoming speed traps allows them to be more careful and make safer decisions. Okay, that's the other side of it. Okay, here we go. According to the CDC, sobriety checkpoints, first introduced in the 80s, reduced alcohol-related fatal injury and property damages by 20%. Okay, fine. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't do them. What I'm arguing is that it's free speech that allows me to tell you there is a checkpoint coming up. Okay, that's the issue. This is not the first time they've come under fire. 2015, LA chief being criticized, saying that it could jeopardize the safety of police officers. Okay, I could sort of see that, but if I'm thinking about a highway situation, I'd say there's a highway, and I'd say there's a cop in the median. How does that, again, hurt their location? Anyway, again, let me know what you think in the comments. I happen to believe that they have no ground to stand on. They can argue till they're blue in the face, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere, especially if this goes anywhere, especially when it comes to constitutional First Right Amendment to say kind of whatever I want, including, by the way, there's a cop over there. Okay? You can say there's safety issues all you want, but I don't necessarily agree. Some of the comments I find a little interesting. This is the other side of it, okay? Here goes. Anybody who supports identifying drunk driver checkpoints deserves to be a victim of a drunk driver. Again, not everybody who's going to be alerted by this is going to be drunk or reckless, okay? I may want to avoid it because it might cause me a giant hassle, okay? Yes, better to support those with stupid. Okay, yeah. I don't think that's the real issue here. I think it's a fundamental right to say there's something coming up. You should be warned by it. Anyway, what do you think? You've made it all the way through. Let me know in the comment. What do you think? Am I off base? Am I not off base? I'm willing to be swayed. Change my mind. Okay. Anyway, check you later.